Hi there, my name's Mark Fraser. I'm a storyteller and I know a lot of you from Instagram, but a lot of you I've never met. So I thought I'd rectify that today. I'm just going to sit on my story stool because it's a little bit further away from the camera. There you go, that's better. Now I can see you all. That's wonderful. I'm sitting in my story tent. Now normally my story tent would be out all over the country telling stories to lots and lots of different people. But due to the circumstances, that's not happening. So I am sat in my story tent at home. I thought I would make a special story video for all my friends in Instagram land, because as I say, a lot of you I've never met and you come from all over the world. I have people from America, people from Australia, people from Turkey, people from the Czech Republic, people from Japan, everywhere. And I've not met an awful lot of you, so I thought I'd introduce myself. So I'm going to tell you a story, and I hope and I wish that you would send me a story back. I would like to hear some of your stories. I do enjoy watching Instagram, and I do enjoy watching so many creative people there. So this is my introduction to you. I'm going to tell you a story that I got from a lady that was next to me in a field at a festival. I was in my story tent, she was at a circus school next door. She came from the Czech Republic. And she told me a story in little bits, and then she told me another little story in little bits, and then she gave me the idea of another little story in little bits. So what I've done is I've stitched all of these stories together and I've made this story. This story is about a man called Peter. Peter is a postman. Peter, he lives in a town, in a country far, far away. Now Peter, he delivers all the mail all around the town. Now Peter's not very good as a postman. He's not the best, and he does have a nickname. Most people call him Lazy Peter. And Lazy Peter gets his name, funny enough, because he's very lazy. The trouble is, Peter's post office has one big room downstairs, huge big room, and he sleeps in that room. He sorts the mail out in his room when he can be bothered. He then delivers from that room all the mail all around the town, but he also cooks and he lives in that room. The thing is, in the corner of the room is a great big oven, and it's where Peter makes his cups of tea, his coffee. He'll make his dinner, his breakfast, his supper. And the fire in the oven is going all day long until the early evening when it comes down in heat. Now Peter likes to sit near the oven all day. It's lovely and warm, lovely and cosy. The oven itself has several shelves, and the back shelf behind the oven where the chimney goes up is a very, very comfortable warm place to lie down on. And once Peter's damped down the oven of an evening, he will climb up on top of that shelf by the chimney and he will lie down. And he would fall asleep. So cosy, so warm. Now that meant he normally overslept. He was so comfortable. And when he overslept, he got up in the morning, he would look at the big pile of posts that he had and he'd think, oh, I haven't sorted that, I haven't sorted that, and I haven't sorted that. Oh, well, what could possibly go wrong? And he'd go out and he'd deliver it. And 9 times out of 10, he'd deliver the wrong letter to the wrong address. Or he'd get a letter back that he'd sent out and it was wrong and it would come back to him. Or he would get back and find his bag had lots of letters at the bottom in the corner. He didn't mind too much. He thought, oh, I'll sort them tomorrow and I'll deliver them tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And the people of the town got used to Peter. The post wasn't that reliable, but it got there eventually. And people would say, oh, I was expecting that 2 days ago. But it's here now. What's the problem? Now, Lazy Peter lived his life quite happily in his little post office. One evening, he'd come back. He'd actually been delivering the post properly for once, and he came back with an empty bag. When he came into the post office, he looked at the sorting table, and there on the sorting table was another pile of letters. He thought, oh, well, I'll start again tomorrow. But wonder what's for supper. He went over to his big pot that was on top of the oven, and he lifted up the lid and looked in, and there was his favourite stew bubbling away. Oh, he said, that's superb. And he poured himself a drink, and he sat in his favourite chair with his feet on the oven and relaxed. Oh. After supper, he let the fire damp down in the oven, and then when it was time for bed, he yawned. Oh. And he got on top of the oven onto his favourite shelf, curled up. Oh. And he went to sleep. Now, as I said before, he would normally sleep all the way through the night and wake up late the next morning. But this night, something woke him up, just after midnight. What's woken me up? I don't normally wake up. Oh, wonder what that is. And he got down off his oven, and he looked around the post office, and he looked around a pillar, and he looked at the sorting table, and to his surprise, he saw 4 little blue creatures with bright red hair sitting on his table. They were sat around a pile of letters. He watched. One of the little creatures, he picked up the top letter and he said, "Ooh," he said, "this is a warm one. This is very warm." He said, "This, I think, is a letter from a mother to a daughter. The daughter's just gone to university, and the mother is just making sure she's eating well, she's warm, and she's studying hard. This is a letter with love in. This is very warm." And he put it down. The second little blue creature picked up the next letter. He said, "Oh," he said, "this is warmer still." He said, "This is warmer than yours." He said, "I know what this is. This is always going to be a warm card. This is a birthday card." He said, "It's full of love." "Ha ha! Mine, I think." And he put it down on top. The third little blue creature, he picked up a letter and he said, "This is freezing. This is really cold. Oh," he said, "I've got an electric bill." He said, "Oh, pah," and he slammed it on top of the letters. The fourth creature picked up a letter and said, "Ah ha ha," he said, "this is a very warm letter." He said, "This is the warmest letter of the lot." He said, "This is a love letter." He said, "This is a love letter from a young woman to her young man, and it is full of love. This is the warmest letter of the lot." And he placed it on the pile, took the pile and placed it beside him. The 4 little blue creatures then started to play again. But Lazy Peter, he looked and he said, "Oi, who are you?" And the 4 little blue creatures jumped. "Ooh," they said, "you're not meant to be awake. You never wake up at night. You sleep all the way through to the morning." They said, "It's us, the post pixies. We're the people who sort most of your letters for you. We're just having a relaxing game with the letters. What are you doing up, Lazy Peter?" Lazy Peter said, "Never you mind." He said, "What are you doing with my post? You can't be touching the post, you know." The 4 little blue creatures looked at each other, then one of them said, "We sort this and we play games with it. We can tell how much love is in a letter just by feeling the outside of the envelope. And sometimes we can actually read what's inside just by touching the outside." Peter said, "You can't be reading the post like that. It's not allowed. You can't read the post. That's naughty." The little blue creature said, "We don't read it word for word. We just find out how much love is in it. The one who's got the most love wins the pile." "Okay," said Peter. He said, "Tell me then, what's in that one?" And he picked up the love letter. "Oh," said the little blue pixie. He said, "I know what that is. That's just a love letter from a young girl to her boyfriend. Instead of telling him how much she loves him. Oh, it's a lovely letter. It's full of warmth, full of love. That's very nice." "Okay," said Peter. "What about that one over there?" And he pointed at a letter that was lying to one side. "Really?" said the little blue pixie. He said, "What, this one?" He said, "This one? This letter?" "Yeah," said Lazy Peter. He said, "Why is it over there on its own? Why aren't you playing with that one?" "Ah," said the little blue pixie, "that's because this is a letter that will never get delivered." "Really?" said Peter. "Well, what is it? Is it warm?" The little blue pixie said, oh, this is the warmest letter we've ever had. This letter is so warm, it's full of love. You know why it's full of love? Lazy Peter said, no. Why is it full of love? He said, because this is a marriage proposal. It's from a young man called John. And John has written to his girlfriend Clara, and he has written to her saying he's got a new job as a coach driver. And now he's got a new job, he can afford to marry her. And he is asking if she would meet him. And he's going to ask her to marry him. And she knows. It's full of love. This is so warm. Okay, said Lazy Peter. So why is that never going to get delivered then? And the little blue pixie said, because it has no address on it. It simply says Clara. There's no stamp. There's no way that can get delivered. Said Lazy Peter. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? He said, if that's the warmest letter you've ever had, that really should get delivered. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, I know I'm Lazy Peter. He said, I'm going to deliver this letter. I'm going to show everybody. He said, I am going to deliver this. The little blue pixies laughed. You can't even deliver most of the post, let alone one that's got no address on it or no stamp. Lazy Peter said, I will. He said, do me a favour. He said, if you keep sorting the post, can you deliver it as well? And the little blue pixie said, hold on a minute, Lazy Peter. We're not just getting you out of a job just because you're going to go wandering off with this letter. We're not going to do all your work for you. Lazy Peter said, I'll tell you what. I'll go and search for Clara for 1 year. Now if after that year I haven't found her, I'll come back and I'll start delivering the post. And this time I'll do it properly, I promise. And the little blue pixie said, okay then. Yeah, okay, we'll sort and deliver the mail for you, but for 1 year only. So Lazy Peter said, right, fantastic. He got a bag and he got his stick. And he said, I'm off. I'm going to deliver this letter. He left and he walked around the town and he knocked on doors. And when people answered, he said, excuse me, does Clara live here? And most of the time people would say, no, no Clara here. Or occasionally they say, yep, we have a Clara. And he'd say, is Clara got a boyfriend she might marry? And they would say, no, Clara's only 3. Or they might say, oh no, Clara's 93. Or they might say, no, not our Clara. And he would keep walking. Eventually, he'd knocked on every door in the town, and he left. And he went out of the town, he started to walk around the country, and he was knocking on doors. One day, he knocked on a door, and when he knocked on the door, a man in a very nice suit opened the door. And the man was a little bit posh. He looked down at Peter and he said, yes, what can I do for you, young man? And Peter said, does Clara live here? And the very posh man said, we do, yes, there's Clara lives here, Madam Clara, she does live here. Have you got an appointment? Lazy Peter said, no, I haven't got an appointment. Okay, I will see. I will see if she will see you. She's in the drawing room lying on the sofa. Okay, said Peter, I'll come with you. And he went into the house and he followed the man down the long corridor until he got to a sitting room. There, lying on a sofa, was a young lady. Lying, fanning herself gently. The man said, excuse me, Miss Madam Clara, this man here, he hasn't got an appointment, but he wants to see you. And the young woman said, oh, she said, I'm so very tired, indeed. It's too much like hard work to get up and say hello. What is I can do for you? And so Lazy Peter said, are you Clara with a boyfriend who's now a coach driver? And the woman said, oh, no, that's not me. I'm happily married, thank you very much. Oh, okay, said Lazy Peter. Sorry to disturb you. The young woman said, oh, thank you, I'm so tired, I think I need a rest now. Lazy Peter and the man with a nice suit walked back to the front door. As he did, Lazy Peter said, who is that lady? Oh, said the man. He said, oh, that is Madam Clara. She is possibly the laziest person in the whole wide world. Ha ha, said Lazy Peter. I am Lazy Peter. I am probably the laziest people most people know. No, said the posh man, I don't think you are. I think you'll find this Madam Clara is the laziest person. let me tell you a story. When Clara was younger, she was a very, very attractive young woman, and she was in love with a very, very handsome young man. And they courted, they met up in the evening, and they chatted, and eventually the young man went down on one knee and asked her to marry him. And Clara said yes. And so they had a lovely, great wedding, and they got married, and they moved into this massive big house, lovely house. Now on the first day, the husband said, "Okay, Clara, now you are my wife. You must prove your worth to me as my wife. I am going to set you a task." "Oh," said Clara, "what do you want me to do?" The man said, "Well, see over here. See this pile of straw? I would like you to spin that. I would like you to spin that into golden thread for me. I am going away this evening for one night. When I come back in the morning, I would like to see golden thread." Clara said, "Well, I've never spun anything in my life." The husband said, "Prove your worth, my wife." And he left in the evening. Clara looked at the pile of straw. She said, "Oh, I can't do that. I've never spun anything in my life." She looked at the spinning wheel. She said, "How does that work?" She picked up some straw. She tried to put it onto the spinning wheel, and she pressed the pedal, and it flew everywhere. She said, "Oh, this is not working." She tried to shove it in sideways. That didn't work. It just chopped it in small pieces. She said, "Oh, no, what am I going to do?" And she got into a real state. "Oh," she cried, "I'll give it another go." And she tried again. And as she put the hay into the spinning wheel, it flew everywhere. And she said, "Oh, my word, I'm never going to do this. And my husband's not going to think I'm worthy as a wife. What am I going to do?" And there was a knock on the door. Who's that? She opened the door, and there, in front of her, was a very, very strange woman. Very strange woman indeed. A little old lady. Now, the little old lady looked quite normal, apart from the fact she had a very, very, very droopy lip. It hung right down here. Big long lip. Ugh. The old lady said, "Oh, my dear, you seem to be having problems." "Oh, I am. My husband wants me to spin this straw and spin it into golden thread, and I've never spun anything in my life. I can't do it." "Ah," said the old woman. She said, "I'll do it for you." She said, "I'll do it for you. Doesn't bother me. I'm a spinner. I can do this." "Really?" said the young woman. What do you want paying?" "Oh, nothing, my dear. Nothing," said the old woman. "All I'd like is Sunday dinner with you one day." "Okay, then, I promise," said the old woman. And so the old lady came in, and she started to put the straw through the spinner, and as the thread came out the other side, she looped it over her lips so she had 2 hands free. Now she did. The thread went through and down and through and hung her lip right down. At the morning time, there was a lovely pile of golden thread. "There you go," said the old woman. "Don't forget, Sunday dinner for me." "Okay," said the young woman. A little while later, the husband came back. He said, "Ah, my dear, have you done my spinning for me?" She said, "Yes, I have. Look, husband." He said, "Oh, marvellous." He said, "Right." He said, "That's wonderful, but I have another task for you. I'm going away again this evening. When I come back in the morning, I would like you to have woven that into a fine golden cloth." "What?" said the old woman. "A fine golden cloth? Oh, how do I do that?" He said, "Here's the loom. You weave." He said, "I will be back in the morning." And he left. "Oh," she said, "I've never used one of these before in my life. What am I going to do?" And so she looked at the loom, and then she tried to put the thread through, and nothing happened. Then she got the shuttlecock, and she poured that in, and it shot out the other side. And then she tried from that side, and it shot out that side. And then she got a finger trapped in it. "Ow!" she said, "That hurt. Oh, what am I going to do? I can't weave. I can't weave at all. This is impossible." And she made such a fuss. There was a knock on the door. She opened the door, and there was another little old lady. Only this time, this little old lady was quite normal, apart from she was incredibly wide. She was the widest woman you've ever seen. She said, "My dear, are you all right?" The young woman said, "Oh, my husband's left me this gold thread to weave, and I can't weave it into golden. Oh, he's going to make such a fuss when he comes home, and I'm not going to be worthy of being his wife." "Oh," said the old woman. I can help you. I'm a weaver. Show me the loom. She went to the loom, she took the gold thread, she took the shuttlecock, and she started to weave. And because she was so wide, she could reach both ends of the loom. And she did. The shuttlecock flew backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And when she finished, there was a lovely folded pile of golden cloth. She said, there you go, my dear. But what can I pay you? Said the young woman. I don't want any payment, said the wide woman. She said, all I want is Sunday dinner one day. Okay, said the young woman. You were the second person to say that, which is a bit strange. No, not a problem. The next morning, the husband came home. He said, where's the golden cloth I asked you to weave? And the woman said, down there. He said, oh, marvellous. He said, that's fantastic. He said, I've got one more task for you. I'm going away this evening. I would like you to sew that into a lovely golden suit for me. Sew you a suit? Said the young woman. Make you a suit? Sew you a suit? I can't do that. He said, there's the needle, there's the thread, and you have the cloth. When I come back tomorrow morning, if you are worthy to be my wife, I expect to see my suit. And he left. That night, the lady picked up the needle, picked up the thread, picked up the cloth, and she tried to sew, and she couldn't. She stuck it in her thumb. Ow! She said. She tried to cut up the cloth into the right sizes. She couldn't do it. Oh, she said, I can't make a suit. This is impossible. What am I going to do? She made such a fuss. There was a knock on the door. She opened the door, and there was a little old lady. Now, this little old lady was fine, apart from she had a huge, great long nose with a big round end on it, and it swung backwards and forwards when she talked. She said, "My dear, what's wrong with you?" And as she did, her nose went like that. The young woman said, she said, I've got to sew a suit for my husband. I've made the cloth, I've made the thread, and now I've got to sew a suit. And if I don't, I'm not going to be worthy to be his wife. I don't know what to do. I can't sew. "Huh," said the woman, and her nose went like that. Whew. She said, I am a seamstress. I can make a suit for you. That's not a problem. Leave it to me. And she did. She made the most marvellous suit you'd ever seen out of the golden cloth. When she finished, the old woman said, how can I pay you? And the one with the big nose said, don't worry about it. Just invite me for Sunday lunch one day. Phew, that's the third person who said that, said the young woman. Yes, not a problem. And so she took the golden suit and she's laid it out on the bed. Her husband came home and he said, wow. He said, what a beautiful suit. He put it on and it fitted like a glove, which is a bit awkward because it was a suit. It fitted like a glove. It was perfect. Oh, he said, this is marvellous. You are really worthy to be my wife. Thank you, my dear. 2 days later, it happened to be Sunday. The husband said, we are going to have a massive, lovely Sunday lunch. Huge it's going to be. We're going to have a very, very enjoyable Sunday dinner together. The young woman said, can I invite some friends? Husband said, yes, certainly you may. And so the young woman invited the 3 old ladies. At Sunday lunch, they turned up and they came into the dining room. One of them with a lip that hung down, one of them that was as wide as the table, and the other one with a nose that wobbled when she walked. They sat down. The husband looked at them and said, welcome, ladies. You're friends of my wife. Welcome. They said, thank you very much. And they had a marvellous, huge, massive Sunday lunch. It was great. Everybody enjoyed themselves, but the husband couldn't help looking at the 3 old ladies. When they'd gone, he said to his wife, he said, these friends of yours, they're a bit strange. Who are they? Oh, said the young woman. She said, the first one, she's a spinner. She spins. The second one is a weaver. She weaves. And the third one is a seamstress. She sews. That's why she's got such a big nose, because when she bends down, all the blood rushes into it. The weaver is so wide she can reach each end of the loom. And the spinner, when she spins, she holds the thread in her lip, and that's what it makes it stick down a bit. Said the husband. Really? And he thought, don't want my wife ending up looking like those, especially if she's got all 3 of them. He said, my dear, thank you for spinning and making my lovely suit. He said, but from now on, you will never do a stroke of work again. I want you as you are. And from that day forward, said the very posh man, Madam Clara has never done a day's work in her life. She just lies on the sofa all day long. She's exhausted every evening. Peter said, wow, she does sound like the laziest person. Even I'm not that lazy. He said, that's amazing. Oh well, if that's not Clara, I'll have to keep going, but thank you for that. And he left. He took his letter, and he had many, many adventures, and there are many, many stories about lazy Peter. And he walked all over the country until he got to the 364th day. And on the 364th day, he was going back to his town, and he looked at the letter and he said, I'll never find Clara. As he was walking along, beside him, a coach stopped, and a man leant out and said, excuse me, do you want a lift? Lazy Peter said, oh, yes, please. And he got up onto the coach, and the coachman whipped up the horses, and off they went. He said, where are you going? To Lazy Peter. So he told him. He said, oh, he said, I used to live in that town. He said, I know it well. Don't worry, I'll get you there. Okay, said Lazy Peter. He said, what's your name? He said, oh, my name's John. Lazy Peter said, so what made you leave this town then? Oh, said John. He said, I was in love about a year ago with a beautiful woman. He said, and I sent her a letter and asked her to marry me, and she never replied, and I was so heartbroken. He said, I just couldn't stay there anymore, so I left. I've got this job as a coachman, it keeps me on the road. Now, Lazy Peter is not the brightest person in the world, but even he put two and two together there. He said, he said, He said, I think I can help you. He said, did you write this letter? John looked at it and said, yes, I did. He said, I wrote that, and then I gave it to my aunt to put the address on and put a stamp on and send it. Oh, for goodness sake, it didn't even get there. No, it didn't, said Lazy Peter. Come on, let's go see Clara. And they did. They went to a small house on the outskirts of the town. Lazy Peter said, I've knocked on this door. So they knocked again. A woman came to the door, and Lazy Peter said, is there a Clara living here? Oh, yes, said the young woman. She said, there is a Clara living here. She's just around the back. And they went round the back and found a smaller house. And in that small house, there was a woman called Clara. Clara saw John. She said, where have you been? I thought you'd disappeared a year ago. John said, I asked you to marry me. I sent you this letter. The woman opened the letter as quickly as she could. She read it. She said, of course I'll marry you. And they fell into each other's arms. Lazy Peter, he thought, he said, my work here is done. He went back to his post office. When he got back to his post office, the four little blue men said, oh, Lazy Peter, you cut that fine. He said, I know, but I delivered the letter. Really, said the four blue pixies. Well done, you. They said, right, now you're going to be the postman again. Are you going to do it properly? Lazy Peter said, I will. If you help me, when you're playing your games at night, will you sort the post and I'll deliver it in the morning? And the four little blue pixies said, we will. And they did. And Lazy Peter was still known as Lazy Peter, but at least he got the post out on time. Now, there are many, many other stories with Lazy Peter on his travels around the country. I'll tell you those another day. But this, as I said before, is for my friends in Instagram land. I've not spoken to many of you before, so here it is. Here's the story. Please send me one back. Please have a look at my YouTube site. There are more stories there. And if you ever catch me live, please come and say hello. I'd love to meet you all. So, I'm off now. I am going to go and find some more stories. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye. Remember, tomorrow is another story. Stay safe.